probably hasn't been the greatest hurling championship of all time. Well, compared with 2018 anyway, when Limerick won it, that was just an unbelievable championship. So many big games, so many big moments. But like, even though this didn't live up to the same heights, there's still plenty of moments that were unbelievable. And something that I think really stood out was Liam Sheedy's reaction to winning the All-Ireland when he sprinted over to his family. I mean, that was a great moment. That is how it should be. You know, a lad losing the run of himself and just enjoying it so much with the people that he's closest to. Because there's this, I think there's kind of this trend towards acting like Mr. Cool when you've won it and acting all aloof and, you know, not really getting into it. And like the whole thing is supposed to be about joy and pride and where you come from and that type of thing. So the Mr. Cool act isn't something that I think is congruous with GAA. So I just thought it was nice to see that happening. Some other big moments, I think Limerick's masterclass in the Munster final, like that was pure hurling. That was one team picking another apart and just really destroying them. So that was probably up there for performance of the year. Not the only one, but it's definitely up there. The sideline cut from Dara O'Donovan, that's got to be another big moment of the year. Clearly clipped off Killian Buckley's hurley, but it was just kind of surreal that you have Hawkeye and you think of the two instances with Brian Hogan that the game can be called back for that, but then Dara O'Donovan has this and it clearly hits off a hurley, you know, if you've got the right angle, which of course video technology gives you, and it's not called back. And I know the situations with the Hawkeye and Brian Hogan, it's like 30 seconds later or 40 seconds later that it's called back, and the full-time whistle was blown in this situation before that could happen anyway. But it's just such a huge moment, and for that to you know, that could have cost Limerick an All-Ireland. They hadn't started the game well, put themselves, was it 1-8 to 2 points down, and if they had to not either that sideline go over, or if Aaron Gillan or Jeremy Burns had to knock over to 65, who knows, they could have ended up being All-Ireland champions. Patrick Horgan's 3-10 against Kilkenny, and especially the goal from his knees, I mean, that is just pure wizardry. I'm sure he just did it straight out of instinct, and the fact that he has that balance and like that brilliance in his wrists as well, that had to stand out. Mark Fanning's goal against Kilkenny, the crucial goal to win the Leinster final, like Rory O'Connor done so well to win the penalty, and then to come up and blast it into the bottom corner. You know, it ended up in a situation where Kilkenny were lobbing balls into the square to try and get an equaliser or winning goal at the end. Probably did that a bit too soon as well. But and actually ended up doing that in both finals. But for Wexford, unbelievable. The scenes when they won it, amazing. And like so many people waiting for them when they were going back through towns like Gorey and Enniscorthy afterwards as well. It's great to see a team make its breakthrough or get that landmark win. I mean, even if you think back to Dublin winning Leinster in 2013, that was huge for them. TJ Reid's performance against Galway, like it was man of the match stuff, display for the ages, scored 211. That included 6 frees and a 65, but the scores he got from play were just out of this world. It was the first time that Kilkenny were beaten at home in the championship since 1949, and just the high balls that he caught that day, it really was just stunning stuff. Another game that happened in Nolan Park led to one of the moments of the summer. Greg Kennedy catching that ball from a quick TJ Reid free that was going to Billy Ryan, if I remember correctly. And Greg snaps it out of the air and, you know, throws the ball away. I know Greg very well from the previous 4 or 5 seasons with Coola. He's a funny character, a very funny, entertaining man. I'd say at this stage he's probably laughing about it. The final day of Leinster was really incredible. I was in Parnell Park to see Dublin knock Galway out, but coming into the final few minutes, could have gone either way. Wexford against Kilkenny, that was the draw. It was on a knife edge. I remember I happened to just be sitting in the crowd that day. I wasn't working, and Dave McIntyre, who works for Off the Ball among others, he was sitting beside me, and we were just flicking on Twitter trying to find out the score in the other game while watching this war in front of us. It was an unbelievable game, and I think if people had to see this game, they'd probably be thinking about Dublin as a stronger proposition than they are. And of course the Laois game has taken away from a lot of what they've done this season, and they'll be looking to atone for it from next year. But this was some performance, and it was some finale to Leinster, and it was kind of the high point of the round robin, the decision to go that way. Kerry beaten Offaly in the Joe McDonagh relegation game. I think you know, so much of the country is bemoaning the decline of Offaly, and rightly so, because any strong hurling county needs to stay strong and build if they can. And you know, I think people wanted them to tread water in the Joe McDonagh, at least maybe consolidate and kick on. Now they've been replaced by Meath at that level, and they're gone on to the Christie Ring Cup for next year. But you know, red cards cost them, as it so often does. But like, Kerry got the win, stayed up, and you know, I think that's kind of forgotten in all this, that Kerry have done such a great job. Fintan O'Connor as well, who's formerly with Derek McGrath in Watford. Like, it's a great job for him, and it's a big success story, and it shouldn't just be all about how Offaly messed up, but also about how the Kingdom stayed up. Laois against Dublin, that was an unbelievable finale to that game. The atmosphere down there was unbelievable. The Aaron Dunphy goal stands out because that was the platform for Laois to win that game under Eddie Brennan. I was doing co-commentary actually with Midlands Radio that day, first time I'd ever done the co-commentary live on a game, and it was great fun doing it. And the kind of reaction of the main commentator, Jack Nolan, at the end of the game, he was going hoarse, he was going mad, and I'd somehow try and be excited with him, even though I'd watched plenty of my cooler teammates get knocked out of the championship with Dublin. But you know, it was fun sort of occasion, and it was a great win for Laois, and obviously devastating for Dublin. But that was a standout moment of the year. Just some reflections on the whole 14 men situation. If you think about Tip, they, like, after 45 minutes, John McGrath got sent off, and they started to use the ball better and won the game somehow. And if you go back to 2016, after 13 minutes, Bubbles was sent off against Limerick in the Munster Championship, and Tip just used the ball well and ended up winning the game. And it can be done. And even I think about Kilkenny in that game against Galway, they went down to, in the Leinster Championship this year at Nolan Park, which they lost. They went down to 13 men, and yet still they found a way to stay competitive and almost leveled the game. Now, so it's just the thing that if you, as long as you use the ball well, you can almost eliminate that spare man by not playing it into his area. Like, Wexford were playing with men quite withdrawn in the Leinster final, but they never blasted the ball long so that the spare man, Pádraig Walsh, could get himself into the game. Play it short, play it through the lines, run it. And it's just something, I think, that's the lesson there for the future. Tip started to use the ball better. Kilkenny started to use the ball worse in the final. So, yeah, I just thought I'd comment on that. And then a brilliant moment from the year that's not from the inter-county season, but from the club final, Colin Fennelly's flick for that goal against St. Thomas's as they won the club title. That was brilliant stuff. So what was your moment of the year? Comment, and maybe we'll do another video based on those. But yeah, let me know what you think. So don't forget to subscribe to the channel by clicking subscribe below the video, and click the bell if you want a notification for when the next video is going to go live.